to Haggis. Fair fire on his sonsy face, great chieftain o' the puddin' race. Aboon them a' he tak your place, pinch, tripe or therm. We larry worthy o' grace as lang's me arm. The groaning trancher there he fill, your hurdies like a distant hill. Your pin would help to mend a mill in time o' need, while through your pores the dews distill like amber bead. His knife see rustic labour dicht, and cutty up a ready slicht, trenching your gushing entrails bricht like ony ditch, and then oh, what a glorious sicht! Warm, reeking, rich. Then horn for horn they stretch and strive, deal tack the hintmaist on they drive, till all their wheel-swelled kites belive are bent like drums, and auld Gidman maist like derive, bethank it hums. Would he that our is French ragout, or olio that would staw a sou, or fricassee that would mak her spew at perfect scunner, look down with sneer and scorn for view, on sick a dinner. Poor devil see him ower his trash, as feckless as a withered rash, his spinel shank a good whiplash, his knee in it, through bloody flood or field to dash, oh how unfit. But mark the rustic, haggis fed, the trembling earth resumes his tread, clapping his wally neva blade, he'll mak it whistle, and legs and arms and heads will snade like taps a thistle. Would he mak mankind their care, and dish them out their bill of fare? Auld Scotland wants nae skinking ware that jaups in luggies, but if he wish her great for prayer, gie her a haggis.
Hello and welcome to For Show. Here we have a really special show today, celebrating Burns Night. So I'm with Dr. Ollie Douglas, Assistant Curator here at the Museum of English Rural Life. And as well as reciting a beautiful poem, Ollie is going to talk us through objects which appear in the poem itself. Hello, Ollie.
Hi.
So, Ollie, can you show us what have we got on display here, and how does it fit in and relate to the poem itself?
Well, I thought we'd start because the poem I recited is addressed to the haggis, which is traditionally recited at a Burns night. I thought we'd start by talking about what a haggis is. Okay,
great.
And why we might be talking about one in the Museum of English Rural Life rather than the Museum of Scottish Rural Life. The reason I wanted to talk about this poem in particular is because we do have lots of objects, not only that are mentioned in the poem, in the collections of the museum, but we also have things that relate to the haggis itself. Okay. So the haggis is effectively a pudding. It's a sausage. It's a type of... it's a solution to using the offcuts of meat that perhaps we wouldn't otherwise want to eat. Yeah. And so we can talk about that in terms of sausages. And sausages, of course, are traditionally English as much as they're traditionally Scottish. So I thought we would start by having a quick look at a sausage maker.
Oh, that's fabulous.
So this is a sausage maker. You would stick your offcuts and meat in through there. It would churn it through this device. You'd twist this round. Yeah. And it would push it all out through here.
So your sausage would come out there.
Squeeze out your sausage. Now, obviously, a haggis is a bigger type of sausage. Yeah. And in the poem, you may remember the line "pinch, tripe, or therm."
Oh yes.
So, poem starts. Great chieftain o' the puddin' race. Aboon them a' tak your place, pinch, tripe, or therm. So the haggis is above all these other types of using offal, of using tripe. Okay. And a haggis is made traditionally from oatmeal, from onions, and it's also made with the pluck. And the pluck is the sheep's heart, liver, and lungs. Okay. But they're also the pinch, the stomach, the tripe, and the therm, and the therm is the small intestine.
Oh right, oh fabulous.
And what we have in the collections here is a device that would have been used by a butcher for hanging up pieces of offal. So all of these kind of intestines, all of these inside bits that we might be a bit put off by. And here it is.
Oh my word!
So this would hang from the ceiling of a butcher.
This is such a cruel ornament.
It's all right. I'm not going to use it on you, Rob. All these bits of offal would hang from different sections. But of course, pieces of offal were much more heavily prized in the past because people needed to make use of the entire animal. Yes. And these pieces are still used today in various meat processing contexts and in the haggis and other traditional forms of meat and sausage. And do we have many other of these in the collection, or is there only one? I think this is the only offal ring or offal hanger, but we have other types of butcher's hangers, meat hangers. I've never seen such a thing like that. And I think this one comes from the southwest of England, from a butcher that was closing down. other things that are actually mentioned in the poem, the haggis is sitting on a trencher, and a trencher is basically a dish, a traditional wooden dish. Yeah. And this is a small trencher.
Oh, that's lovely.
So you might expect a haggis these days at a Burns supper to be a bit larger,
That's
but one
nice.
that you might use in a domestic context. With tradition, they've been served on something like this, and trenchers are used from at least the 15th century onwards. This is much more recent. This is probably 18th or 19th century, and comes from the collections of Lavinia Smith, one of the key founding collectors that fed into the Museum of English Rural Life and its holdings. So it describes it on the bottom. Lovely. Domestic utensil, trencher, or a trancher. Trencher or trancher. The groaning trancher, very fill.
That's lovely.
And a bit further on into the poem, when it's talking about eating the haggis, Burns is bringing that to life. And he says, horn for horn they stretch and strive. And what he really means is spoon for spoon.
Oh, right.
So people are eating with spoons, and they're guzzling away. And what they're eating with are horn spoons. And these are traditional horn spoons.
Amazing.
So beautiful. They look almost plastic.
No, that's beautiful.
There's a sort of translucence to them. And they're beautifully carved. We have a number of examples of these. So these would have been used throughout England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland. They're carefully carved, and they're carved very thin so that you can see through them.
Yes.
So they're very well carved. But horn for horn, they stretch and strive.
I cannot believe that is horn. Oh, that's lovely. Okay.
Right. And towards the end of the poem,
yes,
there's a phrase that I didn't quite understand, despite the fact that I learnt this poem years ago. Yeah. I'd never bothered to find out what it meant.
As is the way when you're learning poems.
Yeah. So old Scotland wants nae skinking ware that joups in luggies.
No.
That joups in luggies. Now, I knew what joups was, that splashes or sloshes about. Yeah. But luggies, lugs to me are ears. Lugs is a Scottish word for ears. Luggies are actually small wooden bowls, and I've just discovered from our colleague Liz that these are wooden bowls that have a handle. Right. So the wooden bowl that I've actually got out is not one with a handle, but it's turned in the same way that traditional wooden bowls would have been turned on a pole lathe.
Yes.
So you get concentric rings round here where the tool marks hit the wood as it's spinning round, and it also has the wood marks in it, so the knots of the wood. So it's possible that it's to do with the handle. Yeah. That it's called a luggie. Okay. So it's sort of referencing the ear, the shape on the side. Oh, right, or it could be to do with the concentric ring marks of the tool marks, or it could be to do with the patterns in the wood itself. What we're really talking about are smaller bowls than this, and we have lots of bowls in the collections. But the reason I got this one out is that this is actually turned by George William Lely. And George Lely became popularly known as the last English bowl turner. So we're talking about Scottish bowls, but I thought we'd also reference a very famous English craftsman. And it's signed by him on the bottom, G.W. Lely, April the 16th, 1936. Oh, so he signed the work that he did on the bottom. And this is a traditional wooden bowl, and these were used for centuries. So it's no surprise that you see a reference to them in Burns. And what Burns is really saying is that Scotland as a nation doesn't really deserve thin, watery soups. It doesn't want those sorts of foods. It wants something substantial like a haggis, and that's why he's toasting the haggis. He's addressing the haggis. He's very proud of the haggis, and it becomes that key moment in the Burns supper that you address the haggis. It comes in and everyone partakes of it.
Oh, how lovely! Well, thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Ollie. That was absolutely fabulous. And thank you for talking us through the poem and through how it relates to our collections. So thank you very much. See you soon.